It's very difficult because of the situation we're in now to think back to September, because that was like pre-COVID, pre-Black Lives Matter, pre all the things that's going on now. Yeah, it was after Christmas, wasn't it? We were talking about what was going on in China, and we were like told as a school, yes, to discuss it, but not to discuss it amongst ourselves as staff in front of the kids because of the nature of the kids we teach. So I didn't want the pupils to be sort of distressed by the situation. But I do remember the pupils were asking a lot of questions. And on Mondays, we normally have news day anyway. So we look at what's going on in the news and we talk about it. And then they were saying, are we going to get it? I don't remember what my answer was, but I do remember them asking, are we going to get it? And then asking about Ebola and making the association. By February half term, the situation was accelerating slightly, but school wasn't really talking about it. And when I say school, I mean management. They didn't say anything really. Staff started saying, we don't have hot water, because part of our school's quite old, and in our building there is no hot water in the toilets. Yeah, I know. So staff started saying we'd like hot water because of the situation that's going on. But we were told, providing you wash your hands, you use soap, you don't need no hot water. And it was dismissed. Go away. We were told to go away, but well, we weren't told that, but that was the impression. So we continued using the cold water and the soap. I know. Then as the situation in the news started to build up, I remember the conversation amongst the staff. This was just dominated our conversation now, and we were just trying to work out generally what was going on. What is this disease? You know, what's going on? And I remember people saying things like, I'm not getting Chinese takeaway anymore. I remember saying, I don't think it's that simple. I actually remember someone saying that, and I thought, what? And you can tell the kids were worried because they were quiet. And that's usually a sign. Well, eventually the government issued guidelines about washing hands. And I remember that distinctly because we had posters that were given to us to put up. So we put up the posters in our rooms about washing hands, and that was it. And make sure all these posters around the school about washing hands. Some staff started wearing gloves, disposable gloves, but they were told to take them off because it would distress the kids. We started asking for hand sanitizers. We didn't get any hand sanitizers. By the beginning of March, everyone started stressing, thinking, you know, what's going on? But still we were told business as usual. So we have staff briefings in the morning. You get told about what's happened, any difficulties with pupils, you know, whatever. This is what's going to happen today. This person has an appointment, you know, that kind of thing. Business as usual. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is not business as usual. So you try and teach, but all the kids want to do is talk about what's going on. I mean, it's perfectly natural. So we talk about it and then we try and do the lesson, but it just got silly. And then they were asking about their exams. And I said, I don't know, because we didn't know. Do you think we'll be able to do exams? I mean, one kid actually said, will they just give us a grade because he doesn't think we're going to do our exams? And I was like, no, of course you're going to do your exams. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens there, won't we? By this point, people are dying now. I mean, they were dying anyway, but the numbers are going up. I remember the staff being angry, feeling angry, just generally. I think, okay, we had the posters up at school, but there was no hot water and no hand sanitizers. And we just felt vulnerable. We just felt left. The school said they couldn't find any or they couldn't buy any, but we didn't think it was good enough. So we just felt left out there, basically. And then we were told to prepare work for kids across the whole of year groups 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 for them to take home. But they were likely to be off. So we have to photocopy a lot of work for them to be sent home. And then that was it. And then there was George Floyd. I couldn't look at the footage the first time I saw it. It was disbelief. I mean, you're staring at the screen and you're thinking, is this really happening? Is this really happening? And I'm sure that was everyone's reaction. I mean, my reaction was, I looked and I thought, this cannot be true. I mean, obviously it was. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, how we deny. We deny. We don't want to face it, do we? We see it too often, so we don't want to face it. So we turn away, look away, you know, knowing what's happening in front of us. And I saw that and I think it made me feel sick. I felt sick. It's the only word I can... I mean, I felt sick. I mean, I couldn't look at that again. Every time I saw it on the news, I turned away. I'd listened to what was going on, but I turned away. I couldn't stand seeing that. And then obviously the protests, the marches, the whole thing, it made me feel, well, actually, I can't put into words yet because it was like an explosion in my head. It's like my head had exploded. And all the things that happened in my life, my entire life, had come to the surface again. Because you bury them. And now I realize that I was angry all the time, in my head though. And because we're in lockdown, in one sense I'm thinking, it's a good job we're in lockdown because issues at work now, well, because here at work now, there are still problems. I probably would have dealt with them in maybe a very angry way, I don't know, because of the demographics of my workplace. We probably would have sat in the staff room cussing about all kinds of stuff that's going on. All of us going into the managing office saying, yeah, you know what, this isn't going to happen, and this isn't going to happen, and this isn't going to happen, but it's not going to work. It's just not going to work like that because of what's been going on. I've been thinking about all the decisions, not all, but some of the decisions to do with our black pupils, some of the comments that have been made by staff about our black pupils, things said from one member of staff to another, which is not acceptable. It's ridiculous, ignorant jokes that have been made by senior staff to staff, and just these little things that happen that we've been putting up with our entire lives. I was like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. You know, the statues coming down, I don't know how people feel about the statues coming down, but to me, I just think, wow, this is amazing. It's like a revolution. And well, obviously with lockdown, not being able to see my parents. So when I got to see Mum, it's obviously affected her, but it was broken up, what she was saying. And I said, what are you talking about, Mum? And she started talking about how she was treated by the white patients when she first came here as a nurse. And then I worked it out. She's been watching all the news and George Floyd, and it's brought stuff to the surface for her. And well, but what was interesting, because my mum is 80, she said, this made me burst out laughing, she said, if she could, she'd tear down the statues herself. She said if she had the strength, she would go and join them and tear down those statues. And she was like, why are they there anyway? Why didn't anybody tell them about these statues? So she's going through the same emotions, but in a different way. I don't know. Are we in mourning? Are we mourning the loss of those little part of our lives that we've lost in dealing with all these issues? Or, I don't know, we feeling that sense of injustice, aren't we? I think that's what it is, and that's what she was feeling. I just had to sit and listen to her go through all the things she had to go through her entire life. She's 80 now. I always imagine things in pictures. It's like this huge building has been painted white, beautiful white building, and all the things have been covered up underneath. And what's happening now, this is how I visualize it, is all the paint is just peeling off. And underneath is all the things people have said, people have done, the truth, basically. The truth is just underneath, and the paint is just peeling off now. They can't cover it up anymore because it's not going to work. We've gone too far now. things have to change. They've got to. At the beginning of lockdown, there were lots of WhatsApp, loads of WhatsApp, this flying around. I mean, there was this comedian, Nigerian lady, I've forgotten her name. Anyway, she commented on this, and I noticed it as well, that at the very beginning of lockdown, when they were talking about NHS and NHS staff, there was no black people being filmed. Did you notice? There was a poster or something of all the staff in the hospital, and there were no black ones. And I was thinking, the majority of the NHS is black. So how come they were interviewing NHS members and there was no black ones? None of them being interviewed. They're not in the newspapers. They're not on the TV. Where are they? They weren't there. So, well, that was a big peel. That was a big peel coming off the building right there. But then the nail in the coffin for me was when they started dying, when they pointed out that COVID-19 is particularly affecting the BAME community. That was painful. And the first doctor that died, and it's interesting because my mum phoned me up and she said, it hurt me. It hurt me. You know, she was so angry. She was upset. She said it felt like it was her brother. It felt like it was her brother that had died. She said she was hurt by it. And she was hurt by it because of how she was treated in the hospitals, of how they were always doing the dirty work and how the black nurses were treated. And then, you know, thinking, look at this man giving his life. And she said, yeah, he was the front line. At school, the senior management never really talked to me about how I felt, about the anxiety I felt. But the good thing was, we talked to each other about it, about how we felt. And yeah, that there was anger. The anger was there. People didn't have to say why, but it was just quite obvious. And different people dealt with it in different ways. I tried to do some, at home, some evenings I tried to do, I like to do arty things. So I tried to do my lino cuttings. It's where you draw on lino and cut it out. So I've been working on those images for quite some time. I've been doing faces of black women. Just women of any other colour, because I can't see myself anywhere. So it became my project, and I called it in Patois, Simia, as in see me here, see me ya. Basically, as often as I can, I do faces, black profiles, because I don't see them. I don't see me. Angela Davis. I did her because of the Black Lives Matter. She's got a lot of good things to say. I mean, she's about protest, so I made a card, basically it's a lino card using her, but my aim was, with the lino cutting, was to try and make, I haven't counted how much I've done yet, but I want to make 100 different pictures of mainly women. And I've done a few men, but women work better for me. Women's profiles, the face, the hair. I mean, how often do you see that? And I realise what I'm doing is I'm trying to make images of me, my grandma, my auntie, my cousin, you know, my mum, my friends out there, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just saying I'm tired of going to museums and art galleries and not seeing myself in a positive light, and tired of it. So I'm not saying I'm going to be in a museum or art gallery. I'm just making my own. So I thought, let me try and get to 100. I don't know if I will, but yeah, I'm going to try and I'll just see what happens.